March 17th, 1941, 0242 a.m., 400 miles south of Iceland, North Atlantic. The gale screamed at 45 knots. Black waves towered 30, 40 feet before crashing down in explosions of white. Convoy HX-112 was shattered, burning, dying. Less than 2 hours earlier, Otto Kretschmer, the tonnage ting, had been dragged half-drowned from the sea, his U-99 a broken wreck beneath the keels of HMS Walker and HMS Vänok. The silent Otto was silent forever, now a prisoner on his way to a British interrogation cell. But the wolves were still out. 12 miles to the southeast, U-100 tore across the surface at 17 knots, diesels roaring, bow throwing solid water over the bridge. Kapitänleutnant Joachim Schepke stood legs braced, blonde hair streaming like a Viking banner. The crew called him Der Vikinger for good reason. 37 ships, 152,000 gross tons. Knight's Cross with oak V's glinting at his throat. Tonight he was drunk on his own legend. Over the U-boat command net he had been crowing for hours. "Children, the Tommy's escorts are slower than my grandmother after Sunday Mass. I'll have 3 more for breakfast. Start counting." He laughed into the voice pipe, then raised his binoculars. There, a fat straggler, the Norwegian tanker Bedun, 8 knots, navigation lights blazing like a fairground. Easy, too easy. He said, "Surface attack. Clear the bridge for running. Gun crew stand by, but we won't need you." 1 torpedo from tube I. 38 seconds, a blinding orange flash, a column of fire 300 feet high. Bedun broke in half and died in seconds. Schepke threw his head back and howled with laughter that cut through even the storm. Cigarettes were lit on the bridge. Someone started singing Vesterland, another victory notch for the Viking. They never saw death coming. HMS Vänok, same minute. Lieutenant Commander James Denice had only just come down from the bridge after watching Kretschmer capture. His Type 271 centimetric radar, the set the Germans still believed impossible, had painted another fat contact dead ahead, range 11,000 yards and closing fast. The radar operator's voice cracked with excitement. "Surface target, high speed, bearing 128, range closing rapidly." Denice's eyes narrowed. "That's Schepke. I'd know U-100 silhouette anywhere. Action stations, revolutions were 27 knots, stand by to ram." The destroyer leapt forward like a greyhound slipped from the leash. 0251 a.m. On U-100, they were reloading Tube 4, still laughing, when the lookout screamed, "Zerstorla! Starboard voraus! Closing fast! Mein Gott, he's ramming!" Schepke spun around. Through the flying spray he saw her, a 4-stacker racing out of the dark, bone in her teeth, no lights, no warning. For 1 heartbeat, the grin froze on his face. "Alarm! Tauchen! Fluten! Sofort!" Men tumbled down the hatch in a heap. Valves slammed open, but U-100 was heavy with fuel and torpedoes after 5 weeks at sea. It was slow, sluggish, the bow dipped, too late. 0254 a.m. Vänok struck at 27 knots. 3,500 tons of destroyer, stem reinforced for exactly this moment, smashed into U-100 just forward of the conning tower. The impact was cataclysmic. Steel plate buckled like tin, rivets sheared with a sound like 1,000 machine guns. Shepka was hurled overboard and crushed instantly between the two hulls. His body vanished under the destroyer's forefoot, oak leaves still gleaming. Inside U-100, hell erupted. Seawater roared through the gash. Lights went red. Men screamed, "Shot dicht!" But the lower conning tower hatch jammed open under the pressure. The boat rolled violently, pinned beneath Vaynok's keel. Denise rang, "Full astern together!" Vaynok shuddered backward, her screws biting huge chunks out of U-100's saddle tanks. Bunker oil gushed upward in a black fountain. Then came the depth charges. 6 patterns dropped deliberately into the spreading diesel slick, where U-100 wallowed half awash, unable to dive. Each explosion lifted the broken boat clear of the water before slamming her back down. Inside, torpedoes tore from their tubes and detonated in chain reactions. The pressure hull split wide open with a sound like the end of the world. 4 minutes. That was all it took. At 02:58 a.m., U-100 was gone. Only 6 men were left alive in the water, hauled half dead aboard Vaynok. One of them, Lieutenant Circe Bernard Merler, kept babbling through blue lips. "Teufelschiff, it came out of nowhere. No noise, no lights. Radar, they have radar." On Vaynok's bridge, Denise watched the last great air bubble burst and the slick settle. He lit a pipe with shaking hands and spoke quietly to his first lieutenant. 2 aces in 1 night. Kretschmer prisoner, Shepka dead. Signal Admiralty. Type 271 fully effective. The escorts are no longer the hunted. Across the scattered convoy, signal lamps began flashing the same short message. Kretschmer captured, Shepka killed. God save the king. Merchant seamen who had cursed the useless escorts hours earlier now lined the rails, cheering themselves hoarse, waving caps at the little destroyers that had suddenly become gods of war. Lorient, Saint-Nazaire, Bergen, dawn. In the concrete U-boat pens, the news hit like a torpedo below the waterline. Young commanders stood in silence before the wall of heroes. Someone reached up and unhooked Shepka's framed portrait and placed it face down on a shelf. No one spoke. The laughter was gone. Derry and Greenock, the days that followed. In escort ready rooms, charts were unrolled. Hedgehog mortars were welded to forecastles overnight. Crews drilled until their hands bled on the 24 spigot launchers that threw bombs in a perfect 120-foot circle no U-boat could dodge. The happy time was over. The North Atlantic was about to become a British Ocean.